What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Prodigy and welcome to our video on the channel. Today guys, I want to talk about a feeling I've had lately just looking at all the lore and story that we've collected over the past year since Remine for Phase 2, and this next saga is kind of all over the place, but not in a bad way at all. We haven't even gotten our big game for Phase 2 yet, and just from Union Cross and Melody of Memory alone, not even including Dark Road coming out in September, we have a lot, and I mean a lot to cover for this next arc. And the reason I say all over the place is because a lot of these stories, when you look at them, while they could be merged together in some ways and will all meet at likely a similar point at some point in the story, like all of them will probably have a big group up or meet up or something, and they'll all lead to a similar thing. But a lot of these things kind of feel like arcs that are very self-contained-esque. What I mean by that is a lot of these story arcs that seem to be being set up involve individual characters and individual storylines, like things like Quadram with Sora and Yozora, and potentially the Master and Riku, while the other Guardians are also looking for Sora. At the moment, they've left it up to Riku and just hope to hear back from him in some way, shape, or form, or are allowing the other Guardians to train and get prepared for what might end up happening. But in the meantime, we also have Mickey going over to Scarlet Kylum, which could have to do with Quadram. We don't know exactly how yet. So Mickey is likely going to be progressing the lore that we see in Dark Road. Then we have Kairi training with Aqua, and we know Kairi wants to go to Quadram, and she has a end goal of wanting to be by Riku and Sora's side and not just be on the sidelines, but she also just wants to get stronger. But we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, so we might just have a whole separate little training arc with Aqua and Kairi, and whatever the Birth by Sleep trio gets wrapped up into, Kairi will probably be along with them. Dawn and Goofy are just relaying the information to the other Guardians of Light, so we have no idea what the Days trio is up to. We have no idea what the Radiant Guardian trio is going to be doing, the Radiant trio as we like to dub them here. And then that's from Melody of Memory mostly. With Union Cross, we have these separate individual arcs, potentially at least, with Strelitzia, which we don't know how it's going to play into the grander scheme of things. Strelitzia potentially being alive and walking around is something that some people kind of predicted. Maybe not walking around in the sense that she is, or that we think she is, but we figured that Strelitzia was going to have some sort of role in the future. But her being straight up alive and her being who was presumably the Master in the Union Cross ending, and us getting no follow-up on that in the Union Cross ending and the final part of it, we have no idea where that's going. So that's just a storyline that we have no clue how it correlates to anything yet, but we assume that she's likely going to be helping the foretellers in some capacity, and I predict she's going to be used as a sort of bait, I guess, for Marluxia, Lauriam. And speaking of Lauriam and Strelitzia are kind of just a character arc on their own. I mean, Lauriam's biggest thing isn't necessarily trying to protect the greater realm of light or to completely destroy the darknesses. That might be part of it, but Lauriam at his core wants to just find Strelitzia, wants to just find his sister, and Elrena's likely going to get wrapped up into it in some way, shape, or form as well, since she was involved in it in the Union Cross arc. And then on top of just those little things that we do know about right now, we have Brain in Scarlet Kylum likely succeeding Ephemer and continuing what Ephemer did in just keeping the light alive, guiding the future generation. We don't know exactly where he ends up, but I assume that he likely just gets old and he has some sort of encounter with darkness, assuming he's Ericus's grandpa, as they sort of tease in Dark Road. But there's also a bunch of other characters who are very involved with our Guardians, but we don't necessarily have a specific role to attach to them yet. Characters like Naminé, for example, characters like Roxas. Oh yeah, and the Subject X thing with Sax and Lee, that's something we can attach to them, but Xion as well. These are characters that don't have like specific roles yet, but were big characters in the last saga, so they're likely going to have some sort of involvement in the future. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and we don't know exactly what the the big end goal of this arc is going to be. We know that we're supposed to be fighting the darknesses, and that's the setup going on right now, but how all of this leads to that, we don't fully know, and that's the interest in phase 2. But I would not be surprised if they decide to make a couple of games that kind of explore these other character arcs, explore more of Laurium and Strelitzia and his drive to find his sister and what exactly led him to being an organization member and being in Chain of Memories, because Laurium seems to still have his memories after Union Cross, at least for a little bit before getting snatched by the organization. Additionally, we have the Foretellers and Lushu, and while we know the Master does indeed return, we see the Master in Quadratum in the secret ending, and it seems implied that the Master used Quadratum as a way to just escape, you know, everything, to hide. That was his place he hid at. So what are Lushu and the other Foretellers going to be doing? How does that story plan out? What's in the box still? And what's going on with Luxord and Demyx we still haven't seen yet? There's so many mysteries going into phase 2, and we haven't even gotten our big game yet. For me, all of this is so exciting. Like, it's really cool seeing that they're going even further beyond to develop some of these characters and to introduce us to different sides of characters we already did know, like Marluxia, like Elrina, Luxor, Demyx, when we eventually see them. I don't know. The rest of the Union leaders. There's going to be a lot of new characters that get brought up in the next arc that were from Union Cross, from Dark Road, and then getting even more lore on like Xehanort and Ericus. This series is getting so interesting. There's so much depth, so much lore. But I just wanted to make this video to kind of just ramble, I guess, about this, because it's been something that's been on my mind lately, and I'll likely be talking about this sort of thing a bunch in live streams and talk about some of these things individually as well, because I definitely have like some deeper thoughts about like Laurium especially, and where his story might end up going, and the interest in what could have happened as he gets into the organization, because I have a little thought that maybe he actually did catch on to what happened to Strelitzia right before getting into organization 13, or maybe that lead into what he found about his sister is what led him to Organization 13. Basically, I feel like he found something, because there has to be a reason he ended up keeping his memories and wasn't just immediately put in front of Lushu when he landed in Dwarf Woodlands, because that would have been a pretty easy thing to write in actually. But no, they put him in a time period that takes place after Birth by Sleep and slightly before Kingdom Hearts 1. So he's just walking around before KH1, and I'm trying to see what he found. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, you already know what to do. Leave a like, share the video with a friend or family member, and last but not least, if you have not already and want to become a part of the Union, all you have to do is that red subscribe button down below. My name is Prodigy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out, you guys. Bye.
Now she's a daydreamer.